Hello, my name is Alicia Hess, and today's date is July 7th of 2025. And I'm going to presenting my presentation on the communication within the female reproductive system of someone that's not pregnant. Um, so First of all, I want to tell you what a feedback loop is. And feedback loops basically are a bio, biological control mechanism that regulates the activity within that system. I mean, we have positive feedback loops and negative feedback loops. A positive feedback loop enhances the activity within that system, whereas a negative feedback loop actually suppresses the activity leading in that of that system. So let's see, the positive feedback loop it's a change that triggers a response to amplify the original change. So it's to push a process to completion. Negative feedback loops have to do with maintaining homeostasis. So if something is out of order, this negative feedback loop will change something else within the body to bring the body back to homeostasis. So within the female reproductive cycle of someone that's not pregnant, we have 4 feedback events that are associated with the menstrual cycle. And not all of them are negative and not all of them are positive. It varies and it depends on which phase of the cycle is occurring and the hormone levels within that cycle. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the early to mid follicular phase now. This occurs around days 1 through 12. It's a negative feedback loop, and mostly during the cycle, there are negative feedback loops. It's rare to have a positive feedback loop, although there is one that I'll speak about in just a moment. The dominant hormone here is estrogen, and it's a low amount of estrogen. And then the purpose of this phase, or this loop in particular, is to maintain FSH and LH so that overstimulation is prevented. Okay, so move me down here. Here we go. So here I made a little graphic to go along with what happens in this feedback loop. So in the hypothalamus, GnRH is secreted, which makes the anterior pituitary secrete LH and FSH. FSH makes the follicle grow, and then a low to moderate amount of estrogen is released from granulosa cells. And as we've learned in this chapter, a low to moderate secretion of estrogen is actually going to decrease the amount of GnRH, LH, and FSH secretion. Okay? And all of that is to maintain those levels and to keep overstimulation from occurring and multiple eggs being released. Let's see. Okay. During the late follicular phase, we actually have a positive feedback loop that occurs, and it's between days 12 and 14. And here, the dominant hormone is high estrogen. So, what we've learned from our book is when you have, or from this chapter, I guess, when you have a high amount of estrogen released, it is going to stimulate the GnRH again. And when that happens, you get a large surge, a huge surge actually of LH and a small surge of FSH. And all of this is to induce ovulation. So here I have the mature follicle and it secretes high levels of estrogen, which, as I had mentioned before, creates a positive feedback loop that then stimulates a surge in GnRH And when GnRH is stimulated, then you're going to have a large surge of LH and small surge of FSH. And that large surge, excuse me, of LH is what actually makes the dominant follicle rupture and releases the egg. So this phase includes positive feedback that leads to ovulation. Okay. How do I get to my next slide? There we go. Okay, now we have the luteal phase. Oops. Oh, I can't see myself anymore, but I'm going to keep going. In the luteal phase, this happens around days 15 to 28. It's a negative feedback loop. The dominant hormone here is estrogen and progesterone, and the purpose is to prevent another follicle from developing. Okay, so here we have the ruptured follicle is now the corpus luteum, or luteum. It's not fertilized, so it secretes estrogen, progesterone, and inhibin. And then this provides negative feedback, which also suppresses the secretion of GnRH, LH, and FSH. Okay. And then the last stage, or the last phase of this cycle is the end of the luteal phase. This occurs around days 12 to 14 in someone that's not pregnant. All feedback is removed. So we don't have positive or negative feedback here. All of the hormone levels drop, like estrogen, progesterone, and inhibin, they all drop. And the whole purpose of this phase and this phase of the cycle is to start a new menstrual cycle. So when an egg is not fertilized, this is what happens. This is what your body does. So the corpus luteum, as I had mentioned before, it degenerates into the corpus albicans. And when that happens, secretion of estrogen and progesterone drastically decrease. Now, when those hormones decrease, it's going to make your GnRH, your LH, and your FSH rise again. And when that happens, the next turn of the cycle occurs. So the follicular phase or early follicular phase would occur next. And the GnRH will then stimulate the anterior pituitary to secrete your LH and FSH again, which will continue this the phase. And again, this is of someone that is not pregnant. And the only resource that I used for this was our textbook, which is the Silverthorne textbook. And that concludes my presentation.